All right, looks like we're recording. Hi, everyone. Welcome to STA 1000. Basically, it's kind of like a statistics course where we also use a lot of Excel. We're in week 2 right now, so I figured I would create a video because some of the homework for week 2, it's a little more Excel heavy than last week's homework. So I figured I'd make a video. It's an online class, so we don't have any real definite class time. Like other classes are 1:30 to 3 o'clock on Tuesday and Thursday. We don't really have that here, so I figured I'd just do a video, post it in there, and then you can kind of watch it whenever you want. And it'll be YouTube video, so you can watch it in the YouTube app. So that's always a bonus. I find it's easier to just kind of add YouTube videos to a playlist or something for like whenever I need an instructional video or something like that. YouTube's just easier instead of logging into the Canvas app and watching videos on there. So let me go ahead and do a screenshot or screen share. There we go. All right, so now you should be able to see my screen. This is the Excel worksheet for Chapter 2. A lot of the stuff in here is concepts that are talked about in Chapter 2. It was kind of either lean more heavy onto Excel or make everyone do a bunch of math problems. And I figured this might be kind of more fun. It's a little more hands-on, and it gives you some hard skills that you can use in the future instead of just doing a bunch of math problems out of the book, right? So the first tab here is frequency distribution. So basically, I took data from 30 random students from a previous, same class, but previous semester, compiled all the data down here for you. Also, I'll make the view a little bit bigger because that's one thing I hear a lot is sometimes it's kind of hard for everyone to see the screen here. All right, cool, there we go. It's a little bit bigger there. So here are most of the majors offered at Cleary. And then here is the number of students from that class that were in each major. So first thing we have to do is a frequency. So actually we can do a relative frequency first because all this data here is basically the frequency. Frequency is just kind of like a count. So relative frequency is the count for a particular thing, such as business communications, divided by the entire sample or population. So here we have 30 random students was our total. So our relative frequency, I'm just going to do equals. And then to kind of save yourself some time later on, instead of typing in 4, I'm just going to click over here in this column. So I'm telling Excel that the column next to it, use that number. All right, and then since it's a relative frequency, we just divide by 30. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 30. And it gives us kind of like a fraction. So since I used the info over here instead of typing in number 4 in this formula here, it makes it easier because then I don't have to type in like 1 divided by 30, 1 divided by 30, all that stuff. All I have to do is go into the lower right hand corner. So it makes kind of like a little cross or a little plus sign or like a little crosshair, and then double click on there and it'll fill in everything else for me. Another way you can do that is you can just kind of grab it with the left button on your mouse, hold it down, and just drag the whole thing down there. So one way we can kind of check our relative frequency to make sure that the numbers are correct. So I was just checking my speaker, making sure the volume's on, because one time I recorded an entire video and the volume was never on. So one way we can check to make sure our relative frequency is correct is to just click on the first tab, hold down Shift, click on the last one. That way everything is highlighted. Over here, you'll see the sum is 1, which is correct because our relative frequency, when we add up all the little fractions here, all the little decimal points, it'll equal 1. All right, so percent frequency, uh, basically it's the same thing because these over here are like 0.13 repeating. It's more or less a fraction of how many business communication majors out of the entire class there were. So over here, we can just do equals for our formula and then click on there. Click on the relative frequency and then times or asterisk 100 equals, and it'll give us like 13%. And then we can do the same thing here, just kind of in the lower right hand corner. When it makes a little plus sign, double click there, it fills everything in for us. And then while this is highlighted, if we look over here at the sum down here on the bottom, it equals 100. So that's 100%. So your percentages, when you add up all the percentages, should always equal 100%, which it does. So that works out. Like this one's a little over 6%. 10% of them are in finance, 20% are in business management, 10% are in digital marketing. So it gives us all of our numbers here. And we can kind of, I'm not going to mess with it too much now, but let's say there's a bunch of like 3 repeating here and you don't really like that. You kind of just want 2 decimal points. So you can just press on here and it'll lower the decimal points down to 2 decimal points. And you can even well, here, if you click on the first one, hold down shift, click on the last one, then click on percentage. Oh, it messes it up. So don't do that. Let me do the percentage. Since it's already times 100, clicking on the percentage thing will mess it up. One thing you could do is if you just take out the 100 in here if you wanted to, and just make it 13, and then make all these just be decimal point again. Then you could go over here and click on percent, and it'll change everything into a percent for you. And then if you wanted like a couple decimal points here, you could just kind of do that, add a couple decimal points, so you know it's like 33 repeating. You can do that if you want. So cumulative relative frequency is basically where it adds up. So you have 13 here plus 0.03 would be 0.16 plus another 0.03 repeating would be around 20, if I remember right. Yeah, around 0.2 or 0.20. So over here, what we'll do is I'm just going to do equals that, because the first one is going to be the same. And then the second one, I'm just going to do equals the thing above it, which was 0.13 repeating, plus the next number, which is 0.033333. So that gives us 0.16. So, and then you can kind of do the same thing. Click on the 0.16 repeating, lower right-hand corner. When you get the little plus there, you can double click on that or just drag it all the way down. One way you know that it's working is when you get to the bottom here, it'll equal 1. So they're just adding up all these little fractions until it gets to 1. Cumulative relative frequency, basically the same thing. You can, let's see, do I want to do percentages here or no? I want to do percentages. So I'm just going to do equals this, enter, and then bring all of those over. And this time I'm just going to go ahead and do percent. And I'll add a couple zeros. There we go. Cool. That way you can see kind of how everything adds up as you go down to get to 100%. So that's all you got to do on this one, because this first tab here, we're just looking for the frequency distribution, which we have over here. Oh, I don't like how all these have a million decimal points. I'm just going to move that back. I'll make them all have 2 decimal points. There we go. Cool. It just kind of makes it a little bit neater. Yeah, maybe I'll do it over here too. I'll knock that down to 2. There we go. Yeah, maybe I'll go 3. It just kind of makes it a little neater instead of having, because some of them are even where you only have 0.1, and then some of them are like 0.0333. So I kind of like them all to be kind of the same. I'm going to make this one 2 because now it's bothering me that that's 3 and the rest aren't. Okay, cool. So it kind of cleans it up a little bit that way. And over here, then you kind of know its percentages. You don't have to have the percent thing here. You can just have it be uh, 3 um 3% without the percent sign, but it kind of cleans it up a little bit. All right, let's see, over here to the histogram. So in here, you want to fill in the data from the frequency distribution tab. Use the data from the frequency table to complete the histogram exercises on 104 to 109 in the textbook. Okay, let's see. This one, I'm actually just going to copy this information over. There we go. All right, so that way, because to make this histogram, we only need the frequencies. We don't really need all this other stuff. So I should have just included this table over here, but um, originally I was going to have like everything filled out again, but we don't got to do that. So in here, this one's just asking for a histogram, so that's pretty cool. Let's see. You may, if you click on data, you may already have data analysis over here. If you don't have it, no problem. You just go over to file, and then we'll go down to options, and then this little window here will pop up. We'll go into add-ons, Excel add-ins. I'm going to go there. Oh, okay. On mine, it's already marked off. And you want to use the analysis tool pack. Yours might look different. Like mine, there was like an upgrade for Analytics Solver, where you paid a monthly prescription or monthly subscription, and you got over here where it says Analytics Solver and data mining. A lot of times those kind of add-on things for Excel that you pay for don't work that good. I had to download this for a project I was doing, so I added it to my Excel, and it's almost impossible to get it back out of your Excel. It doesn't really mess anything up. I don't like having tabs here I can't use. So always be wary of anytime some place is trying to sell you an add-on thing for Excel. But anyways, make sure your analysis toolpack is checkmarked there. Click OK. And then when you go over here to data on the top, it should say data analysis over here. Actually, one thing about Excel is every time you switch screens, it goes back to the regular size. And usually students always say the screen's too small. So whenever I switch tabs here, I'm going to make sure to enlarge the screen, that way everyone can see it well. All right, so we'll go back here to data up here on this top toolbar thing, and then data analysis. Oh, here we go. You'll have a bunch of stuff up here. It's going to come in handy if you're ever in a class where you need to know the mean and median and all that. You can use descriptive analysis. There's a bunch of stuff in here. Some of the stuff even I don't know what it does. Mostly I've just used regression and descriptive analysis. But for today, we're just going to use histogram. So you click on histogram, and it's going to ask you your input range. So your input range is all these numbers of students. So I just clicked on the top there, held down shift, clicked on the bottom. So you're telling it like you want everything from here down to here. Bin range, I'm not going to use one yet. Labels, yeah, I'll include some labels. Output range, they just want to know where you want it, where you want the graph put. If you, by default, usually it's going to say like a new worksheet or new workbook. I like to just put it on the same thing, and then it'll ask you where on this tab you want it. I'm just going to tell it to put it right there. And then make sure you do chart output. If you don't do chart output, it's just going to give you your bin and your frequency, and it's not going to give you the histogram. So click OK. And then it kind of makes everything for you. So you have your frequency over here. Excel kind of decides to pick its own bin. So the bin in the book, they call it like a class. So Excel will be like, okay, so all these ones are in one bin or class, like how the book says. And then it's like, okay, 2 is over here. There's only one of those. So the frequency of 2 is just 1. The frequency of 1 is 4 of them. The frequency of 3 and 4 is 4. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 6. So let's see. So then it created the histogram here where it has its own bins. So you can leave it like that, but I like to do my own bins. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all that stuff. Go back to data analysis, make sure a lot of the stuff will still be highlighted from whatever you did last in here. So click on OK. Make sure I got the right bins here. So, or the right input range. So 1 and or 21 to 31. Okay, cool. And oh, I got ahead of myself. I'm going to cancel out of here. So I'm going to make my own bin. So I'm going to say bin. Let's see. I want all the everything from 1 to 2, and then 3 and 4, and then 6. So my bin is just kind of every couple of numbers. So now I'll go to data analysis. We still have histogram there. My histogram numbers are still the same. It's still B21 to 31. My bin range, I'm going to go ahead and click on bin, hold down shift, and click on the last one. So I have bin and 2 and 4 and 6. And you can pick any bin number you want, or any numbers you want for the bin. Like if you want to have all the ones in one group, and then 2 and 3, and then 4 and 6, however you want it. I just kind of picked out this number. Let's see, output range. I'm going to put the output over here this time. And we still have chart output, which is good because that'll give us our chart. And I'll click OK. So there you can see the histogram is a little bit cleaner. My bins are over here, frequencies over here. So we're saying for 1 and 2, there should be 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then for 3 and 4, there should be 4. And for 6, yeah, we only have 1 6. Okay, cool. So, and then the histogram is kind of a little bit cleaner over here. We can see most of the student, or most of the frequency is only 1 student in each major. There's 1 major where there's 6 students, and then around 4 majors where there's 3 or 4 students. So that's just kind of gives it a frequency. Sometimes this can be inaccurate when you first look at it, because you think like, because when you actually look at the data, most like 6 of the students, or like 1/5 of the students, or 20% are all in the same major. So sometimes when you look at this, it can be a little bit misleading on the data. But it's you kind of creating your own bin and telling Excel what your bin, or as the book calls it, class, is going to be. That kind of just helps make a better graph here. And you can always kind of mess around with the graph. You can make, let's see, you can make the width smaller so that the bars get bigger. So it kind of fills it in more like that. So you can kind of play around with all the info and everything if you want. But as long as you make a histogram, then you're good as far as the assignment. So next one is a scatter plot. Scatter plots are really easy. Let's see, I'm just going to go ahead and click on A1, hold down shift, and click on my last one so everything's highlighted. Then I'm just going to go over here to insert. And then you have the scatter plot thing here, but sometimes you might not have the little menu thing here. So you can just click on this little box with an arrow kind of going off to the side, and it'll give you some stuff. Excel's pretty good. Like, it tries to recommend what you think, what it thinks you're gonna want. Here they did a good job because they picked out a scatter plot, and that's what I want. But there's other stuff on here too. You could click on here, and it'll give you like a bar chart, bullet chart, some line charts. But since this one's a scatter plot, I'm just gonna go ahead and go with that and click OK. All right, so this kind of covered up some of this stuff, so I'm just going to move this on up here. So to move it, you can just kind of click anywhere on the graph and hold down the left button on your mouse. Just move it wherever you want. You can expand it too. Just kind of grab one of the corners, hold down left on your mouse, make it bigger. All right, so let's see. Based on the data, so we got attendance over here. This is how many times attended out of 16 weeks, I think 15, yeah, 16 weeks. And then this is the grade. So this is about 14 different students, their amount of attendance and what their grade was in the class. So we're kind of looking at, how attendance affects the grades. So we can kind of tell, like, well, looks like as the attendance goes up, the grade goes up, but we want to make sure. So let's throw a trend line in there, right? So if we click on one of the dots, so you have like all the dots kind of highlighted with like a little blue bubbles around them, and we'll right click on any of the dots, any dot you want, right click on it, you get this little menu here, and we're just going to add a trend line. So we were correct. If you look at the trend line, as the attendance goes up, the grade goes up. So whatever you get for your findings, just kind of put over here in the answer of what conclusions you can make about the relationship between attendance and grades. A lot of data and data analytics is just, you have two data sets, in this case attendance and grades, and you just want to see what the relationship is between the two. So that's like 90% of data analysis. All right, so here we have stocks. There's a little video here that shows you kind of how to look up the stocks on Yahoo Finance. Then there's a link here on Yahoo Finance. You can use anything you want. If you have a Robinhood account, you can kind of look stuff up on there. Yahoo Finance is just kind of easy and user friendly. And I put like a little video on here you can click on to do that. I'm going to go ahead and just to kind of save us some time on the video, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of pick random stocks. So KO is Coca-Cola. Let's see. PSEC is Prospect Capital. Let's see. What's another stock I like? Man, it's been a while since I looked at my stock portfolio. Let's see. So I got Coca-Cola, one of my favorites. PSEC is a monthly dividend stock. It's amazing. I love it. Prospect Capital. I'm not sure if I have the letters correct, but it's Prospect Capital in case anyone wants a good monthly dividend stock. And KO's Coca-Cola, great dividend stock. They've been paying dividends for forever. Let's see. I'll do HD for Home Depot if I remember the numbers correctly. And let's see. We'll do V for Visa. And what's another stock that would be good? Let's see. We'll do F for Ford. All right. So to kind of save time, I'm not going to actually look up the numbers. I'm just going to kind of type in some kind of random numbers here. On yours, make sure you look up the numbers. I figured I'd save some time because you don't want to watch like another 10 minutes of video while I try to look up the stock prices for the last 3 years. So make sure on yours you physically look up the stock. On here, I'm just going to kind of enter in some approximate prices of what I've seen the stock do. Let's see. So make sure you're looking it up correctly when you do yours. I don't want to make you sit and watch the video while I look up all these stocks. And if I was smart, I would have had them all looked up before I started the video. But it was kind of spur of the moment. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that we're covering this week, and it would probably be nice if I made a video to kind of help everyone with it. So I didn't really look up the stocks or anything ahead of time. So just make sure that you enter yours correctly. We'll say 352.01. Okay, so I'm not going to go through and do all of them because I kind of feel like I already used up a lot of your time. So let's see. You go through, you look up your stocks. You want something from January 2019, June 2019, January 2020, June 2020. So picking up a pattern about every 6 months, we're looking at January 2021, June 2021. All right, so then let's do some spark lines here. Let's see, is it over here in data? Where did they put it? That's the hardest part when you get to be my age, is trying to remember where everything is. Let's see. Oh, okay, here we go. Spark lines. All right. So go under insert, like you're going to add a graph, which makes sense now that I think about it, why they put it there. Because it's kind of like a spark line's kind of like a little tiny quick graph you can do. So let's see, I'm going to go ahead and click on spark line. All right. Data range. So I want to know Coca-Cola. And let's see. Location range H2 sounds like a good place to put that. So I'll click OK, and it makes like a little spark line here. Over here, since I like everything labeled, I'm gonna put spark lines. There we go. All right. And instead of going through and doing all that stuff, I'm just gonna go ahead and do what I usually do. Lower right-hand corner, make sure it's a little plus sign. And then this time I'll it won't let me double click. All right, I'm gonna grab it in the corner and then just pull it down. And you can kind of see the spark lines there. So spark lines, a lot of times when you don't need a really specific graph, like you just need to know if something is trending up or down, spark lines are awesome. You'll see them used a lot in stocks because you don't need the specifics of like it went down 2 cents, it went up 2 cents. All you need to know is if it's trending up or down. Like if there's a dip or if it's up, you just kind of need like a basic thing. So spark lines are really good for that. All right, let's see. Next we have a tree map. So let's see. This one is sports teams instead of majors. So over here we can do the frequency. Let's see. So we can do, I probably should have enlarged the view a little bit on that last one too. Let's see. 25. There we go. All right. So let's see up here. We're doing the frequency. We still have 30 random students. So I'm going to go ahead and do equals 4 and then divided by 30 equals that. All right. And then let's see. Since I used 4, did I do it right? Okay, yeah, I did use the 4 down here. So since I used the 4 down there, I don't have to type out the formula, because Excel, when I tell it like, hey, drag that formula down here, it moves the formula. Like here, I told it I wanted B20. When you drag the formula down, Excel knows like, okay, so instead of B20, we'll use B21 because we're dragging it down. So Excel's kind of cool like that. It kind of knows what you want all the time. So I'll go ahead and fill in all the frequencies here. Let's see. So then we got to do a tree map. So let's see, you can highlight all of this over here. and we'll go to insert. Now there's a little tree map thing here, or you can just click on the little box with the arrow. And let's see, this time Excel doesn't know what we want. So I'm going to go to all charts and then scroll on down. Did I already pass it? There's a line, there's a bar, stocks. Oh, here we go, tree map. And enter. And that gives you a tree map there. So for the tree map, I use frequency, but you can even do another one if you want. Do like where you highlight all the sports and all the numbers of students in each sport. And I'll do another tree map there, just because I'm kind of curious if they're both going to look the same. Because in theory, they should both look the same. And there we go. Softball, soccer, everything's the same. So you can use a frequency or the number of students, whatever you want on this one. Because when you think about it, the data is the same. You're just one is a fraction out of the entire sample, and the other is just a count. But for tree maps, the kind of nice thing about that is it's going to be the same either way. So, and in tree maps, whatever has the largest number is going to be the biggest part. I don't know why they call it a tree map either, because it doesn't look like a tree, right? But the largest number, like you can tell the most students are in softball. Baseball and soccer have about the same amount of students. Wrestling and hockey, well, wrestling more than hockey because wrestling's a bigger area. These ones over here looks like, what are these? Bowling, esports, golf, lacrosse, these have the least amount. Cross country has more than these four, but less than track and field. So you can kind of see, this is kind of like a real nice way to visualize what has the most. It's almost kind of like a pie chart where you can, it's real easy to see which one has the most. All right, so next we need a bullet graph. So we want to use a frequency data from the tree map to create a bullet graph as described on pages 114 to 117. All right, let me go over here to the tree map, grab all this frequency stuff, and we'll go over here, and I'll just, oop, it didn't paste. All right, so I'm just going to go over here and use the number of students instead. So using the number of students instead of the frequency, it's going to make it look a little bit different. I think it's going to look nicer because if we use frequencies, there's a bunch of decimal points. And unlike a bullet graph, it's nicer just kind of have the full number. So I'm going to go with that. All right, let's see. So we'll go highlight all of this stuff here. Remember, you just click the first box that you want included, or the first cell that you want included, hold down shift, and then just click on the last one you want included, and it'll highlight everything for you. All right, let's see, we'll go over here to insert. I think the book tells you a different way to do it, but I'm just kind of doing this as like a kind of a really quick way to do it. Let's see, so got kind of like a little bullet graph here. And the data is the same, so you can still see that softball has the most. So this graph is good to see if you want like actual numbers, because a tree map doesn't give you actual numbers. This graph is really good if you need like actual numbers, and it kind of psychologically it's a little bit different than like a regular bar chart or a histogram where it's just up and down. So like in these bullet graphs, like the numbers that are large are going to look a lot larger, and the numbers that are small are going to look a lot smaller. So it all depends on what you want your audience to understand. Let's say you were in charge of the athletic department at Cleary, and you were doing a presentation where you wanted to increase the number of students playing lacrosse or golf, or let's say you're like a softball coach and you want to get more funds from the college. This graph is good because if you're the softball coach, you can be like, see, most of our students are in softball. We should have the biggest budget out of all these other teams. Or if you're like a recruiter or something like that, where you're trying to convince them that you need more people in lacrosse and golf and some of these kind of smaller groups here, you can show them this graph and be like, see, we need to increase our recruiting efforts for lacrosse and golf and esports and bowling because all these other teams have way more students in them, based on this sample of one class. And you can change the graph design if you want. I kind of like this gray one, because, you change it by clicking up here. I like the gray one because it seems easier to read the letters, uh, like the names and everything, and even the numbers here at the end. It kind of includes the numbers here, and even like on the regular graph, you can change stuff if you want on here, and um, so uh, you can change the graphs where like this one formats it so the numbers are in white, so you can kind of see them against the blue bar. Over here, the numbers are in black. It's hard to see in the blue bar, but you can always go over here and go into text options and change it if you wanted. So a lot of the graphs you can kind of play around with and get them to do anything you want them to do, or get them to look any way you want them to look. They even have this one. This one kind of makes everything pop pretty good too, with the black background here. So that one I kind of like to use. Mostly I use this gray one. Looks pretty nice. All right. Next is a contingency table, using pivot tables. So pivot tables, I don't like them. They're used a lot in business. My boss loves them, so I always have to make them. To me, I kind of feel like it's the same data. I could just put on the Excel on the Excel spreadsheet, or it's the same data I could just like make a graph with. But for some reason, bosses in corporate America love a good pivot graph. So we'll go ahead and do that. Let's see, let me go ahead and highlight all this stuff and then go over to insert, click on pivot table. Let's see, pivot table, all this stuff, sure. External data source, don't need one of those. New worksheet, nah, I'm going to keep it on this one. Where do I want it? I want it right here, and click on OK. Oh, here, let me increase the view in case this is kind of hard to see. All right, so your pivot table will pop up over here, and your pivot table fields will pop up over here. So based on the data you highlighted, there's a meal type and meal satisfaction. So I don't have the book open, so I'm not sure how the book wanted it. So I'm just going to kind of play around. Let's see, meal type there. Do I want column over there? Yeah, I don't like how that looks. And that doesn't really help. Let's see, do I want values there? And then meal type rows. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. All right, so we had 30 students. Let's see. Oh, wait. No, I don't want that because there's actually 10 students, right? Or no, there's 30 and 10 voted for breakfast, 10 for dinner, and 10 for lunch. So let's see. Let me do count of meal satisfaction over here, meal type over there. Oh, that looks kind of better. Okay, so that doesn't really give me the satisfaction. No, that doesn't help at all. I might have to open up the book to see what they wanted us to do instead of me just playing around with everything. All right, let's see. Let me open up the book here. Let's see. What did they want? Was it page 110? Oh, that's why I'm on the wrong page. Let's see. All right, so on theirs they had fun type and count of fun type. Okay, so let's see. Instead of fun type, we have meal type. So I'm gonna go ahead and move meal type down here to rows, and then meal satisfaction they had in columns. So I'm gonna move that over there, and then count of fun type. So I can move this down here. There we go. Wow, that looks Pretty nice. All right. Let's see. So if you're doing this at home, you want to click on meal type, drag that down to rows, click on it again, drag it down to values. That'll give you the count of meal type. And then click on meal satisfaction, drag that down to columns. Gives us a pretty nice little pivot table here. Let's see. So breakfast, 3 people had high satisfaction, 3 had low, and 6 had medium satisfaction. Dinner, 1 person was highly satisfied, 2 had low satisfaction, 7 had medium satisfaction. And then lunch, we got a bunch of zeros. Zeros don't show up on here, so it's just blank. It looks like all 10, yeah, this was out of 10 students, not 30. The other ones were 30. This one's only 10. So out of lunch, all 10 students had a really good satisfaction. Let's see, I think, did that only want us to make a pivot table? Let's see, 1 to 11, or 10 to 11, okay. All right, yeah, I think that's all the book wanted us to do with that. So that's it. So pivot tables are kind of a pain. It always takes me a while to mess around with them to get the data I want, and then furthermore to make a graph that I want. Let's see. Yeah, we'll make a little graph out of this, I guess, while I'm in here. You don't have to make a graph using it. I just figured while I'm in here, kind of curious about. Oh, okay. What graph would be best for this? Yeah, that one looks good. Cool. So I'm always kind of curious whenever I get data how it looks, because usually a graph, like when you look at this, it's like, bunch of numbers, what's going on? I don't get it. But then if you can turn it into a graph, then it's like, oh, okay, cool. So a lot of people don't like breakfast. Some people, or a lot of people, or no, a little bit of people had a lot of satisfaction with breakfast. About, like a middle amount of people had a low satisfaction, and then a lot of people were kind of medium satisfied with breakfast. A little amount of people, like 1 person, had a really high satisfaction rate for dinner. Around 2 people had a low satisfaction rate, but 7 people really liked dinner. And then lunch, everyone likes lunch. Well, moderately. Like everyone is medium satisfied when it comes to lunch. So graphs are a good way to kind of just see the data. Because sometimes when you look at this, like breakfast, high satisfaction 1, low satisfaction 3, medium satisfaction 6. Like it's kind of boring, doesn't really let you envision the data. So graphs are like a really cool way to envision the data. And a lot of times you use different graphs for different things. Like this one, I feel like kind of gives you a good representation. I'd probably switch around the color scheme, make well, I'd probably keep it the same, I guess, because medium being gray kind of makes sense. Like it's not great, but it's not horrible. Orange being low kind of makes sense because it's kind of like orange, like a alert type thing, where low satisfaction, so alert orange, and then blue being high satisfaction. I don't know. I just always have. I like blue, so to me it's a positive number. So or a positive color. So to me, high satisfaction being blue kind of makes sense, but you can always kind of play around with the colors and everything on the graph too. But you don't have to do that in here right now, so no worries. In fact, since it's not in the book, you don't even have to make a graph for here, but thought it'd be kind of cool to check out though. So I think that's everything for the homework. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. If you need to, we can do a one-on-one Zoom session. Let's see, Thursdays I'm on campus because I have a statistic class on campus from 1:30 to around 3 o'clock. That one is a full 16 weeks. So if you come to it and listen to the lecture, we're already on chapter 8 because we started at the beginning of the year. So, uh, but usually I'm done with the lecture around 3:50 or no 2:15. So from 2:15 to 3, I'm there if anyone ever has any questions or want to talk in person. Other than that, I'll be posting videos to help out with the homework, and you can always message me. We can do a Zoom meeting if you need, like, if you have one-on-one questions that you need help with. All right. Other than that, hopefully everyone has a good week, and I'll talk to everyone later. Make sure you fill out the attendance thing by Thursday so I can turn in the attendance Thursday night. Um, you just in the attendance, if you have a question, you can post a question in the attendance discussion forum, or just put present or whatever you'd like, as long as there's some way for me to see if people are active in the class. All right. Other than that, everyone have a good week, and uh, hopefully I haven't looked at the grades yet, but hopefully everyone did well in week 1, and this video ideally will help everyone in week 2.